Hey guys, Mr. Mini Painter, and today I'm painting Weapon X. What's more fun than to paint some claws on a mini, right? This is a beautiful model by Marvel Crisis Protocol, Atomic Mass Games, and I'm really excited about painting him because, well, let's face it, he's Wolverine, he's Logan, he is Weapon X. As you can see here, I glued the model to a base. I primed it all in a very bright color, as most of it is skin, so you don't want to go too dark. And basically that's my starting point. There is a lot of detail on this model, but not really many colors that we're going to be using. So yeah, I'm going to show you how I painted him, and I hope this is of any help to you. For the flesh, I tried something different than I usually do, and I started with Night Questor flesh. You can use Bugman's Glow if you want, or any dark skin tone, but I really liked the outcome of this color. I'm then applying Flayed One flesh to the raised areas, and you might think this is way too bright, but I'm going to show you how to blend those colors all together. So what I did here is just focus on the big muscle parts, so the calves, the really visible muscles on his skin, and basically I applied it to a lot of the skin, so just leaving some small areas dark. Now we're going to be blending those colors together later on. But this way, the raised areas, they really show very nice in the end. You'll see. So next up is you thin down your Flayed One flesh to about 3:1, maybe 4:1 with some Lamium medium, and you apply it as a wash. And what happens here is that the areas you painted before, they will look more or less the same, and the dark skin will kind of blend towards the brighter skin. You can do this in maybe 2 or 3 steps if you want. Just look at how it turns out for you and decide if it needs to go another time or maybe 1 or 2 times is enough. I think I went about 2 times to get the result I wanted. I then used a thinned down version of Wayland Flesh Shade because you don't want to get some dark blotches in your previously painted bright skin. So just use it to kind of blend the colors together and make the darker parts a little bit darker maybe. Then back to Flayed One flesh again to retouch those very, very top parts of the skin, so the knees. Really define some muscles here if you want by adding some fine lines, and that way you get another differentiation on the parts you have painted before with the same color. So the fun part here is that you don't really need a lot of colors to create a very nice skin tone. So I picked out the knuckles, the chest, some of the top muscles over here, and just retouched them with some Flayed One flesh. And that's it for the skin. We're moving towards his hair, painted with Corvus Black. Logan's hair is kind of a dark black, gray, depends on the comics you read of course, and for Weapon X I wanted him to have nice dark hair. You can add some brown if you want. I mixed it with some Black Legion. You can use Null Oil, but Black Legion tends to be a bit darker, it's a contrast paint, so it kind of sticks to the deeper parts of the hair, creating a nice shading. With the Rhinox hide, I painted some hairs on the entire body, so his chest, the top part of his arms, his legs. Logan has a lot of body hair, so I use a kind of a split brush, you can see here, to create some random hairs here and there. Make sure to reuse a very tiny tip. Back to the hair, Corvus Black mixed with some Cantor Blue. I wanted to have a nice bluish glow to it. Give it more of a comic look. I took that even further by highlighting that with some Ulthian Grey, which is also a blue tainted grey, to brighten that up a little bit more. Just pick out some hairs, use your brush sideways if you want. That way you can easily pick out small pieces of hair. And I did the same with Alphian Grey in its pure form to do a final extreme highlight. Just the tips, the bottom parts of the hair and some strains in the front. Skavenblight Dinge for the pants. There's not much to show, but I wanted to have it a nice dark look. Some Mechanica Standard Grey on the devices he's carrying on his belt. You can use a metal color if you want, but I went for a non-metallic metal. Then some Thunderhawk Blue mixed with Abaddon Black for the helmet and basically the metal parts you painted before as well, to create a nice bluish glow to the metal. Then some Celestra Grey to create some fine edge highlights. There is a lot of edges on the helmet and on the devices, the corners, the buttons, well, you can see them. Just pick out all of these edges and give them a nice highlight. That is really gonna make this model look very great. Because he's not carrying a lot, it's just his belt, basically the rest is skin, and the helmet of course. So give that the most detail. Again, Abaddon Black and Thunderhawk Blue, I used the same mixture on the claws. The retractable claws, the Wolverine claws. I'm also going for a non-metallic metal look. Again, you can use like a lead belcher here if you want, but I think this looks a little bit more interesting because you can use color now, and that way you can create some light effects, which is a lot more difficult when using metallic colors. So with Celestra Grey, I did the first edge highlight. I basically painted about 2/3 of the claw, the bottom part, so the edgy part, the pointy part. Add some highlights on the top. Basically decide where your light source is coming from and focus on painting that side with the brightest colors. I'm highlighting it a little bit more by adding white scar to the Celestra Grey, and you can see me blending the colors together here. Use it a little bit thinned down, so that way the colors they mix very nice, and maybe go over it twice or maybe 3 times if you want to get a nice gradient. Finally, some pure white scar to the very tips of the claws to really define the sharpness. We're then going to the yellow. There are some buttons here and there, and for that I used Flash Gits Yellow, which is a layer paint. You can also use a contrast paint if you have them. There is some buttons here and there, and just decide whether to paint them yellow, green, or blue, or whatever. Warpstone Glow for the wire going from his helmet to the device. I also used the yellow used before for the wire over there. And you can see me here painting some red also to create some interesting looking buttons. Just add some small details here and there. Wash the metal parts with some Nuln Oil, so the devices on his front and sides. That really gives it a little bit more of a contrast, some shades. Like a big Walkman, right? And then the straps on his shoulders here, I used Thondia Brown as a base color and Baneblade Brown to edge highlight that. I'm a little bit out of focus here, sorry about that, but you get the idea. see the straps over here. And just hold your brush a little bit in a 45-degree angle to create some edge highlighting. Then Bile Red, a contrast paint for the visor. It's a nice bright red color, and the fun thing about contrast paints is that it kind of creates its own shade, right? So you get some color differentiation from left to right. Next, rock art flesh for the inner part of the tree trunk on the bottom. I'm using Mournfang brown for the bark around it. Nice and bright, because there's enough darkness in this model already. It's just skin tone and dark tones. So I went for a bright tree trunk, but you can use, for example, Rhinox hide if you want. I then used Pilar Glacier to add a blue hue to the bottom, to the snowy part. And it's also a nice shade for the footsteps you see there. You can use some Null Null if you want to darken it down. And if you don't have Pilar Glacier, just use any blue you have, a bright blue, and just thin it down a lot. Some Mechanica Standard Grey for the stones, and some Agrax Earthshade to the wood. Let that dry for a bit, and use a dry brush and some white scar to touch everything on top. So the rocks, the snow, it kind of blends together all of it, but creates a very nice effect. Finally, some Baylor brown and a dry brush for the final details on the tree trunk. And that's it. There's our Weapon X, looking amazing. I really enjoyed painting this model. There's a lot of details, even though it's just a couple of colors. The hair on his chest and arms and legs, they really make him a little bit more interesting, and I really enjoyed painting him. Because let's face it, he's Wolverine. Thanks so much for watching this movie, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you like these kind of videos, as I'm making a lot more and you'll be keeping posted. Leave a comment below, I'd love to hear from you, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye!